The hug that shook the ARMY world yesterday was supposed to be the beginning of the reunion of two BTS icons, Jinn and Jungkook. But the opposite happened. The genie disappeared. He was not seen at the airport. It does not appear in official media. He did not respond to public questions. And today, all that remains is silence, speculation, and one big question: why? When a picture of a brief embrace between Seokjin, Jinn, and Jungkook went on the air yesterday, emotional tears swept across the ARMY community globally. The visual was captured with sharp clarity, showing Jinn hugging Jungkook tightly, almost wordlessly. Many refer to the moment as peace in silence, inner redemption, and a symbol of unification. But exactly a day later, something much more disturbing emerged. Jinn did not appear to be accompanying Jungkook at the airport. It doesn't even appear in HYB's internal publications, live broadcasts, or even on Weverse, where's Jinn? And why is such a seemingly sincere emotional farewell followed by an inexplicable silence? Suspicious absences in the highly choreographed world of South Korean entertainment. Every move of celebrities, especially BTS members, has generally been designed with a very detailed communication strategy. So when one of the main members, like Jinn, disappears from the center of a major event, the absence is no longer a coincidence, but a signal. A signal that something is being arranged, postponed, hidden, or even seething behind the stage. Jungkook was seen leaving Korea for overseas on a personal schedule that was not specified. The reporters on guard at the airport reported a different atmosphere than usual. No group control, no mentoring from other members, no special HYB gesture for collective coverage. And what is most surprising, there is no genie. A wave of speculation among the ARMY. Was yesterday's hug their last goodbye? Why didn't Jinn take Jungkook? Did something happen behind the scenes after that hug? Those questions flooded the digital ARMY community. On Twitter, Weverse, TikTok, and even international fan Telegram groups, this moment is emotionally debated. Many feel that they do not get emotional closure after the hug. For most fans, the genie's disappearance isn't just about physical absence. It's a loss of narrative clarity. Some suspected that Jinn was going through a personal internal schedule or health reasons, but the fact that there was not a single official statement from HYB made the conjecture weak. Others believe that Jinn may have been deliberately omitted from the exposure for narrative reasons, to make room for Jungkook to appear on his own. But if that's the case, why isn't it officially reported? Emotional and psychological review, hug or omen. Mass communication psychologist from Ua University, Professor Min Kyung-ju, said in a radio interview that Jinn and Jungkook's embrace showed a long-held emotional burden. But he also stressed that often in Korean celebrity culture, such a hug can be a final ritual, not the beginning. When two public figures touch such an emotional point before the cameras, we have to ask, was it a spontaneous expression? Or is it a subtly encoded symbolic farewell? If so, then the genie's absence today is not just an absence from the airport. It is a symbol that yesterday's hug was a stopping point. Public analysis. Should the ARMY be worried? It's no secret that Jinn and Jungkook have a unique relationship dynamic. Jinn, as the oldest member, often shows the role of a big brother who takes care but also jokes loudly. Jungkook, as maknae, grew up under the influence of all BTS members and is most sensitive to changing emotional dynamics within the group. Some of the earlier moments showed an emotional pause between them. Jungkook, in one of the V-Live broadcasts before Jinn's enlistment, once said that he felt alone and didn't know how to talk. Despite not naming names, many fans associate him with JINSO when yesterday's hug happened. Many felt it was a point of peace. But now, with the disappearance of the Jinn from today's events, the interpretation began to change. Is the hug really peaceful? Or is it a final apology? Is this the emotional climax HYB designed to defuse speculation that has been hanging around for too long? HYB attitude. Silence that sounds loud until this article was compiled. HYB has not released an official statement. There was no clarification, no explanation as to Jinn's whereabouts, and no indication that Jinn's delay or absence was part of the planning. In the world of corporate communication, silence often doesn't mean ignorance. It's a tactic. By not responding directly, the company is giving speculation space and letting public attention continue to flow to the topic. Is this fair to the army? The global community that has faithfully followed BTS. Every emotional trail is now left hanging, without context, without clarity, and without reassurance. Reflective solicitation. Are we just consumers of the narrative? In a world of entertainment controlled by algorithms, cameras, and media strategies, it's important to ask, are we witnessing reality? Or is it just a piece of narrative that has been composed? Is Jinn and Jungkook's embrace an honest moment, or part of an emotional framing? Did the genie really disappear in private, or was it simply removed from the public narrative for the sake of a specific purpose? We need to learn to be an audience that is not only emotional, but also critical. We can cry because the hug is touching, but we must also dare to ask, after that hug, why is the genie no longer in the story? But behind all the emotion that surrounds Jinn and Jungkook's embrace, there is an important urgency that should not be ignored. Is this event as real as it seems? Or is it just a deliberate narrative construction to arouse public sympathy? This question is not a form of cynicism, but rather part of an intellectual vigilance towards the information we consumed. Let's be honest, everything we know today comes from indirect sources. TikTok video uploads, clip cuts from fan cameras, YouTube reactions, and emotional reviews on Twitter. There was no press conference. There is no official description. There is no overarching context. Is it worth it to swallow this whole event without leaving room for skepticism? How often have you asked yourself, am I witnessing the facts? Or am I being led to believe a version of the facts? Criticism like this is certainly not popular amid the emotional atmosphere that is enveloping fandom. But as part of an intelligent and responsible global community, we don't just have the right to ask questions. We have an obligation to do so. If we agree that the hug is a sincere moment between two figures who have understood each other for more than a decade, then the absence of Jinn after that becomes something very awkward. Why does a person who has just shown deep emotions the next day completely disappears from the public spotlight? Some suggest that perhaps the genie chose personal serenity. But again, without clarification, they are all just speculations reinforced by emotions and assumptions. Then, is an emotional speculation without data actually open up opportunities for manipulation? Is the hug a natural moment that just happened, or part of a scenario conceived by the agency for a specific purpose, such as image restoration, issue redirection, or even a soft marketing strategy ahead of the next big project? If so, then we are not witnessing reality, but are becoming consumers of a narrative that has been polished in such a way. Another important question: why did the hug take place in front of the cameras in a publicly accessible space? Were Jinn and Jungkook really unable to contain their emotions until the moment was spontaneously recorded? Or, rather, is the presence of the camera is part of the stage that has been designed? In the history of the Korean entertainment industry, there are not a few emotional events that later proved to be part of the promotional agenda or crisis management. Then the next question is worth asking. Are we witnessing a reality or a management scenario? Naturally, many will reject this assumption with the argument, we can see real emotions on their faces. But here's the danger. Emotions can be displayed, they can be engineered, they can even be traded. In an image-driven world, tears are no longer an indicator of honesty, but rather the most powerful visual communication tool. More worryingly, Jinn's absence after the emotional embrace actually left everyone focused on one question. Where did Jinn go? These questions, which have not been answered until now, continue to encourage public engagement. Increased engagement. Viral content is popping up. And who benefits from this virality? Does HYB want to distract the public from a bigger issue? For example, rumors of internal tensions, member contracts, or even criticism of management. We don't know. But if we don't ask, we're turning a blind eye to those possibilities.